Simon's hitchhiker, Julie, turns out to be a very troubled soul. She is not only on the run from her abusive husband, but a whole lifetime of woe. After Simon wakes in the middle of the night to find Julie threatening to throw herself off of the hotel balcony, he works hard to get her back into the room and safety. But he is woken a second time and finds that she has gone missing. A knock at the door reveals two policemen who are looking for Julie. Detective Inspector Johnson insists that Simon comes to the police station to make a full statement about his connection with Julie. Although Simon is informed that Julie has stolen his car and totaled it, he still wants to defend her from the allegations of her bastard of a husband. However, the inspector reveals that during their argument last night, Julie plunged a pair of scissors into her husband's neck, and he bled to death on the kitchen floor. The inspector reminds Simon that he needs to be more careful who he picks up on the road. Back in my hotel room, I packed quickly. I wanted to get away from there as soon as possible. It was while packing that I realized my wallet was missing. Julie must have taken that too, together with my credit cards. Well, I still had my envelope of cash, but that was all I had. £125. I called a car hire company from my room and found that the cheapest car for 3 days would be £75. I still had to pay for the room, and if I hire a car, petrol. So I had to find some other way of getting to Ullapool and the ferry. I also realized I would have to buy another spade and 2 holdalls, as I didn't fancy going to the police car pound to collect my belongings. God, Julie had really messed things up. But I couldn't find it in my heart to hate her. She was in a much worse place than me and had been there for so much longer. I paid the hotel bill and started wandering towards the centre of Carlisle. The drinks Julie had so carelessly quaffed had drained my coffers by an extra £20. On hearing this, I had felt the door to my good nature slam shut. Damn her! Murdering little hussy! I noticed I was observing myself again, like in that toilet cubicle back in London, enjoying the performance. Dirty, murdering cow, I thought. Screw her. Screw 'em all, I shouted, whilst smirking inwardly as I imagined a bad actor full of autophilia might do. But I couldn't help myself. I was changing, or maybe the change was now complete. This was fun. The danger that had always prevented me from knowingly doing wrong had taken on a new persona. It wasn't what I was doing that was fun. What excited me, what pumped the blood around my tingling body, was the danger itself. I had arrived. I was experiencing the difference between the meek and the mighty. The joy of the gamble was not the possibility of winning, but the sheer, underpants, shit-filling fear of losing. Now I could say it. I could really say it. I was a criminal. The town centre was just ahead of me, and I easily found a shop to buy the holdalls and spade I needed to replace. Another £25. The window envelope in my hand now contained only £50. I sat in the quiet doorway of a disused shop, a fellow victim of the recession. The two new holdalls on my left and the spade and overnight bag on my right. All five of us eager to be employed, 6 if you include the lifeless shop. Opposite the derelict doorway was a travel agency. Strangely apposite, I thought, as that was exactly the shop I needed. Maybe there is such a thing as karma. Or maybe some unseen entity was directing my life and had instantaneously created the precise thing I needed. I gathered up my belongings and crossed the road. The noise of the shop door opening attracted attention from the customers seated at the various desks. They looked up as if I were a mysterious stranger walking into a mid-19th century Western saloon. My lack of importance was quickly evident as all eyes went back to their previous business. Pictures of holidays that would never deliver. I know. I used to produce such lies myself. Without realizing it previously, my career had simply made me an expert in inflating face values, and most of us, including me, believed the lies. Although it was painful, recent events had forced me to understand that for most people, life, like coffee, has more promise in its aroma than its consumption. I did, however, notice the blackness of my mood, but had also learnt that noticing led to understanding, but not necessarily to change. A sweet girl gestured to me with a wave and called me over. "Cooey, can I help you at all?" I walked over, sat down and looked into an overly made-up face. Beneath the troweled-on foundation, I detected clusters of bumps, ironically probably spots caused by the excessive application of cosmetics. Next to the sweet girl's desk was a young couple, holding hands, probably planning their honeymoon or some such nonsense. I suppose they had made their choice as they were counting out £50 notes into an unwieldy pile in front of a sales assistant who was having trouble hiding his excitement. The sweet girl smiled and asked, "So, how can I help you at all?" Was she really going to end every sentence with "at all"? I couldn't understand why, but I felt sorry for her. Was it the oh-so-matte skin or the facial eruptions that she spent so much time trying to cover every morning, not realizing for 1 second that it was the concealer that was causing the problem in the first place? Or was it that she had no idea she was about to abet a crime and, moreover, she would not be making a sale? This is what I found out from her unrewarded labours. To get from Carlisle to Ullapool, I would have to take a train to Garve via Edinburgh and Inverness. This would leave a 32-mile bus ride from Garve to Ullapool, and those fares alone would cost over £100. The only good news was that the Ullapool to Stornoway ferry would cost only £13 return on foot. But there again, £75 for a car. And then once disembarked at Stornoway, there would be a 36-mile round trip to Fevig. Simply not enough money. I bent down to pick up my holdalls and spade. The floor under the desks had obviously been neglected by the cleaners for some time. I could see a soft drinks can, foothills of fluff and bits of paper. But what made me over-labour my actions was what looked like banknotes nestling in what seemed to be a fluff-covered BLT. The young honeymoon couple were still cooing above my head, and as far as I could work out, the sales assistant had not yet started to count the small mountain of cash. I guess he didn't want to look too eager. With a foot, I pushed a holdall nearer to their desks to cover my extended stretch, scooped up the notes and avoided the sandwich as best I could. In one hasty movement, I slipped the money into my pocket, grinned at Sweet Girl, tripped on the leg of my chair, and left. Back in the seclusion of my old comrade, the disused shop doorway, I pulled out the contents of my pocket. 4 £50 notes, and a piece of bacon, which I discarded. In for a penny, in for a pound, as the saying goes. Damn public transport, I decided to steal a car. I walked along a quiet road just off the high street and mused. When one doesn't have to pay, choice becomes a real problem. I couldn't decide between a Chelsea tractor or a hot hatch. Then there was engine size. Do I need something economical or a muscle machine? And what about the colour? Really, Simon? Colour? I picked a green Ford Fiesta. Habit, I suppose. Then reality hit. I might call myself a criminal, but intent is no substitute for know-how. I had no idea how to steal a vehicle. Not even the very familiar Ford Fiesta. I tried the door with the vague hope that my guardian entity was still looking on, but he wasn't. I moved on further down the street, looking in each car, hoping that some slovenly driver had left their keys in the ignition. They hadn't. I thought about going to the station, but still couldn't face the prospect of all those train changes and bloody buses. A whirring noise came from behind me. It was a garage door winding itself upwards to allow a stylish Citroën to emerge. The driver appeared to be unusually small, their head barely up to the steering wheel. The door opened and a grey-haired man creaked very, very slowly from the car to the pavement. With slow, painful movements, he made his way back to the garage. The car was still running. I stood waiting for him to reappear, but there was only the gaping garage door and the chugging Citroën. I waited a little longer. I guessed that he had forgotten something and had returned to the house to retrieve it. But even at his treacle-like pace, it could not be long before he re-emerged. There it was. The car I had been seeking. The owner had even started it and backed it out of the garage for me. What was I waiting for? Well, probably years of manners and righteousness to get out of my way. I remembered a film I had seen years ago. Two people talked about reaching their goals. One says that people need to be prepared to do whatever it takes. The other replies that he knows what he means. The first man asks if the other is that kind of person. He gets a yes, but the response is weak. The first repeats, "What kind of person are you? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Whatever it takes." What about me? Could I do whatever it takes? The car still purred. The owner had still not returned. What kind of person was I?
Come on. love.